Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining this evening. You know, whenever we have new information or resources from Washington, D.C., I want to make sure that everybody in the 37th District takes full advantage of all the resources. So we know that when President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan, it included payments, direct checks, that hopefully everybody has received by now, because if you use direct deposit, hopefully you got a surprise and a $1,400 check in your account. But before we get into the taxes, which is going to be the focus of what we talk about tonight, I just want to provide you an update of where we are with the vaccines. And I am hoping that everyone on this call who is eligible has already had their vaccine. I consider myself double vaxxed. That's what we call each other now these days. And, you know, I got my second vaccine in January. And so it is just a huge relief to know that I am protected. Well, LA County says that in a few days, everyone 16 and above is going to be eligible to be vaccinated. And so I hope that, again, everyone signs up. You can go to myturn.ca.gov. You can go to Los Angeles County Public Health.lacounty.gov. If you live in South LA and live in a South LA zip code and are a senior without computer access, you can call the vaccine call center that is currently run by the St. John's Well Child and Family Center. They will help people in eligible zip codes. And I'm sorry if you're not from South LA, but we are focusing because that is where the deficit is in terms of people who have not been vaccinated. So if you don't want to go on a website and you want to make a phone call, you can call 866-980-0870. 866-980-0870. For others, you can use the websites that I mentioned, myturn.ca.gov, Los Angeles County Public Health, lacounty.gov, and we'll repeat that later on. So tonight, as I mentioned, our telephone town hall will feature experts from the IRS and the California Franchise Tax Board to make sure that you understand the new filing deadlines, as well as the benefits that are now available and how to claim them. We're also going to discuss the direct economic impact payments, and that's the check, to make sure that you will receive them. So before I turn it over to the experts and to my chief of staff who will be moderating tonight, Darren Harris, I want to make a note that we have been receiving calls in both my district office and my DC office regarding delayed payments for SSI filers. So I want everyone to know that the IRS and the Treasury Department announced recently that they anticipate, because there was a backlog with SSI, so they anticipate payments will begin to be issued this week to Social Security recipients and other federal beneficiaries who do not normally file a tax return soon, with the projection that the majority of these payments would be sent electronically and received April 7th or in the week following. I also want to say that while we do have experts on the call, they will not be able to discuss questions regarding specific cases, but they will be able to provide you with information to follow up with their agencies, and a recording of this event along with information will be available to everyone who signed up for our newsletters next week. So now if you're not signed up, you can do so at bass.house.gov/signup. With that, let me introduce our first speaker, Annabelle Marquez, who serves as our Congressional District Liaison with the IRS. Our second speaker is Mark Narleski with the California Franchise Tax Board, and he is the Office of the Advocate for Taxpayer Rights. And our third speaker is Asuela Valela, the Deputy Director for the LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Tonight, I'm going to introduce our Chief of Staff, Darren Harris, who will take the call over and formally introduce our speakers, and I apologize if I mispronounced anyone's name. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bass. with that, let me introduce our first speaker, Annabelle Marquez, who serves as our Congressional District Liaison with the Internal Revenue Service. Annabelle?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Congresswoman Bass, for this opportunity to speak to your constituents about important IRS information. I'll start by sharing that the IRS began processing 2020 tax returns on February 12th. The agency also extended the filing deadline this year. The new tax filing deadline for federal tax returns is May 17th. We expect to process more than 160 million federal tax returns this year, and for this reason, the IRS recommends that taxpayers file electronically. Not only is electronic filing the safest and most accurate way to file a tax return, e-filed returns have fewer errors, which means fewer delays. Most refunds are being issued in less than 21 days. Refund information is generally available within 24 hours after the IRS acknowledges receiving your e-filed return. Now, you can check your refund status by using a tool on the irs.gov website. The tool is called Where's My Refund? And we also have a mobile phone app, IRS2Go, which you can download on your smartphone and check on your tax refund there. Now, the opposite of getting a refund is obviously when you owe taxes. So for that, we say you should file your return by the new extended deadline of May 17th, even if you can't pay the full tax owed. If you believe you may have trouble paying a tax bill by the May 17th due date, don't panic. You should still file your tax return even if you're unable to pay it in full. However, we do recommend that you pay as much as you can to avoid penalties and interest. Now, the IRS offers several payment options, such as short-term extensions to pay, an extended payment plan, or an offer in compromise. Also, if you just can't pay at all because we're going through some difficult times given the global pandemic, you can also request that the IRS temporarily delay the collection process until your financial situation improves. Now, you can find more information about making payments on the IRS website by going to irs.gov/payments. Now let's talk about economic impact payments, commonly referred to as stimulus payments. The first two economic impact payments were based on your 2018 or 2019 tax return information, or if no tax return was filed, the payments were based on Social Security, Veterans Affairs, or other federal benefits or information you had entered into the IRS's non-filer tool that we made available last year. These first two rounds of economic impact payments were paid as an advance payment of the 2020 Recovery Rebate Credit, and they are not taxable income. Economic impact payments were issued to eligible individuals, again, in two rounds. The first payment was for $1,200 or $2,400 if you filed jointly with a spouse, plus an additional $500 for each qualifying child claimed as a dependent. The second round of stimulus payments was for $600 or $1,200 if you filed jointly, plus an additional $600 for each qualifying child claimed as a dependent. These payment amounts were reduced if your income was above certain limits. Now, at this time, the IRS and the Treasury Department have issued all first and second round payments possible due to the statutory deadlines for issuing them. If you did not receive a first or second payment, or if you received less than the full amount you were eligible for, you can qualify for the 2020 Recovery Rebate Credit. Now, in order to claim the 2020 Recovery Rebate Credit, you must file a 2020 tax return, even if you don't normally file taxes. The 2020 Recovery Rebate Credit has similar eligibility requirements, except that it's going to be based on your 2020 tax return information and circumstances rather than your 2018 or 2019 tax returns. Now, following the approval of the American Rescue Plan Act in March, as the Congresswoman mentioned, the third round of economic impact payments began reaching Americans last month. So far, more than 156 million EIP-3 payments have been issued since the IRS began rolling them out on March 12th. Generally, if you're a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident alien, you're eligible to receive $1,400 or $2,800 for a joint return, plus another $1,400 for each qualifying dependent, as long as you are not dependent of another taxpayer on a 2020 tax return, have a valid Social Security number, and your income does not exceed certain limits, which is generally $75,000 for an individual taxpayer, $150,000 for a married filing joint return. Now, unlike the first two payments, the dependent portion of the third stimulus payment is not restricted to children under 17. This means eligible families will get a payment based on all of their qualifying dependents claimed on their return, including older relatives, college students, adults with disabilities, parents, and grandparents. You should check the Get My Payment tool on irs.gov to check on the status of your third stimulus payment. Most eligible people will get the third economic impact payment automatically and won't need to take additional action. The IRS will use available information to determine eligibility and issue the third payment to eligible people who filed the 2020 tax return or a 2019 tax return if your 2020 return has not been submitted, considering we did extend the filing deadline. And if it has been submitted but not fully processed, then the IRS is using your 2019 tax return. They'll also be making eligibility determinations for folks who didn't file tax returns but registered using the non-filer tool that was available on irs.gov last year. So if you use that non-filer tool to claim your first round of economic impact payment, then we'll have your information to automatically distribute your third economic impact payment. Now, people who receive Social Security, Veterans Affairs, or Railroad retirement benefits as of December 31st, 2020, and don't usually file a tax return don't have to take any action either. As the Congresswoman mentioned, we recently obtained updated files for folks that receive these federal benefits, and EIP-3 deposits continue to be issued, and so you should be expecting those payments soon if you have not yet received it. But many folks received EIP-3 dated April 7th. So today would have been the day many people received that third round. And I'm talking specifically about Social Security beneficiaries and federal benefit beneficiaries. So now, if you don't fall into one of those categories I just mentioned, you'll want to file a 2020 tax return in order to be in line for a third economic impact payment and claim the 2020 recovery rebate credit I talked about earlier for EIP-1 and EIP-2 if you didn't receive it. You can go to irs.gov for more information, and you will find a plethora of information on EIP-1, 2, and 3 because each one came with its own set of rules. So there's a few slight differences with each one of the economic impact payments that were issued, and the third one that continues to be issued. Now, I know that many of you may have questions about the expanded child tax credit for 2021, including the advance payments of the credit. We don't yet have guidance and information available. We are working on it. Our commissioner did state in recent congressional testimony that the IRS will be working on perhaps developing a tool where folks can go and register to receive these payments, but we don't have anything finalized yet. As soon as we have more information, I will make sure that I pass this information along to Congresswoman Karen Bass's office so that her constituents can learn how to do this. We do anticipate this information to be posted over the summer, so in the next few months. Finally, I know I'm probably extending my remark period here, but you may be wondering how you can get help filing your tax return. If you have access to the internet and you're comfortable using a computer and your income is below $72,000, you can use Irs Free File. The Irs Free File program is a public-private partnership between the IRS and many tax preparation and tax software industry leaders who provide their brand name products for free. You can find more information at irs.gov/free file. If you need personal assistance filing your tax return, you also have options. If your income is under $57,000, you can receive free assistance from IRS-trained volunteers. To locate a site near you, you can use our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Locator tool found, again, irs.gov. You can also call 800-906-9887. Again, that's 800-906-9887 to get help finding a volunteer income tax assistance site near you. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you so much, Annabelle. Our second speaker is Mark Naleski with the California Franchise Tax Board's Office of the Advocate for Taxpayers' Rights. Mark, take it away.
Oh, first of all, I would like to thank Congressmember Bass for this invitation. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I have a few comments that I'd like to make relating to California taxes and some other programs at the Franchise Tax Board. First of all, consistent with the Internal Revenue Service, the Franchise Tax Board has postponed the state filing and payment deadline for individual taxpayers to May 17, 2021. The postponement applies to individual filers whose 2020 tax returns and payments were originally due April 15, 2021. It's an automatic postponement, so there's no need to call us. It applies only to tax returns and payments. It does not apply to estimated tax payments. And then on another note, Annabelle covered the federal economic impact payments, and I want to inform you that they are not taxable for California income taxes. California also has an earned income tax credit, or the Cal EITC. Hopefully you're already aware of it, and I'd be happy to answer questions as we have time. However, I also want to share with you the new Golden State Stimulus. This new program will provide Golden State Stimulus payment for those who qualify. It's a one-time $600 or $1,200 payment per tax return. You may receive the payment if you receive Cal EITC or file with an individual taxpayer identification number, or ITIN. For most Californians who qualify, you don't need to do anything to receive this payment. It's based on your tax filing. So the qualifications, of course, are file your 2020 taxes and be either a Cal EITC recipient or an ITIN filer who made $75,000 or less total California AGI. You must live in California for more than half the year and be a resident as of the date the payment was issued. And then, of course, you cannot be eligible to be claimed as a dependent on another's return. If you qualify and you have not filed yet, you'll receive your payment 45 to 60 days after we've processed your tax return. So for electronic returns, it's a little over 2 months, and for paper returns, it'll be about 3 months. The new program, or this is a new program, and we expect to send the first checks out within 2 weeks. I think April 15th is our goal date, and that's the first round. And we cannot send checks out to everyone at the same time because there's so many. So please allow about 6 weeks if you've already filed a return. And if you haven't filed yet, we encourage you to do so. You'll generally receive your payment in the same manner as you do a tax refund. If you have direct deposit, then you'll receive a direct deposit payment. Otherwise, you'll receive a check. And if you received an advanced refund by your tax preparer, you'll receive a check. The Golden State Stimulus payment is not taxable for California state income taxes. And there is a deadline. You must file by October 15, 2021. Very quickly, I will say that the Cal EITC is available for those who qualify. You must be 18 or older and have a maximum income of $30,000 for the year 2020. The income must be subject to California income tax withholding or self-employment income. And you can go to our website for the Cal EITC calculator. Our website is ftb.ca.gov. That's Frank Thomas Boy .ca for California.gov. We also have the Young Child Tax Credit that accompanies the Cal EITC. If you have a dependent that otherwise qualifies you for Cal EITC and they are under the age of 6, there's an additional credit of up to $1,000 per qualifying child. We have a free filing option called CalFile, and you can find it on our website, ftb.ca.gov, along with more information about the programs described above. And these resources have been provided to Representative Bass. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mark. Our third and final speaker for this evening is Susanna Fabella. She's a Deputy Director with the LA County Department of Consumer and Business Affairs.
Thank you so much for the invitation to join you this evening. Again, Azucena Favela, Deputy Director with LA County's Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. The Department of Consumer and Business Affairs is committed to supporting constituents through the recovery efforts. Last year, our Center for Financial Empowerment launched what we call the Financial Navigators program. It was a timely program as the onset of the pandemic created a higher demand for resources and services. As COVID-19 continues to affect our residents' personal finances, many are struggling to pay for daily expenses. They've spent their savings, can't pay their rent or mortgage, and maybe are even getting into debt and using their credit cards. The Financial Navigators program is designed to help residents deal with the financial impact of COVID-19 by providing remote assistance in navigating critical financial issues and making referrals to other social services and resources. Trained financial navigators will provide structured guidance over the phone that will help you navigate and connect with other county residents. The financial navigation sessions may last up to 30 minutes. During the session, our financial navigators can help you address concerns such as prioritizing your expenses, maximizing your income, and managing debt by providing the appropriate referrals for assistance. Please note the financial navigators are not long-term counselors, nor can they provide financial assistance. They will, however, help you triage your financial issues. LA County residents can request a financial navigation session by calling 800-593-8222. Again, I invite you to contact our department to be connected with a financial navigator. I also encourage you to visit our website to learn about all of the programs and services available through our department, including mortgage relief and small business grant opportunities by visiting dcba.lacounty.gov. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Darren Harris, Chief of Staff to Congresswoman Karen Bass. So excited to have this town hall meeting this evening. We've received a lot of calls regarding the IRS, but I do want to provide some vaccine information for the folks who may just joined us. If you are seeking a vaccine, you should go to myturn.ca.gov. For the folks in LA County, you can go to publichealth.lacounty.gov. And for people living in South LA and you don't have access to a computer, you can call the St. John Well Child and Family Center at 866-980-0870. Again, 866-980-0870. With that, we could go to our first polling question for the evening. Ian?
Sure thing, Darren. Thanks so much. We'll get this one started here. And folks, you can vote on these surveys using their phone. We want to know, have you received at least one vaccine shot? Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. Again, our first polling question for you is, have you received at least one of your vaccine shots? Press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. We'll have another survey coming up in just a minute. We've got a few of them tonight, but we're going to get to our questions now. We've got a lot of great questions lined up. And Darren, it looks like we've got Jody in line first. Jody, you're live on the line. Go ahead, please.
Hi, I just wanted to check again, when are the state taxes due? Is it the same day in May?
Yes, the state income tax is due to the Franchise Tax Board on May 17th, 2021.
And if you owe money, there won't be any interest or anything charged until then, right?
That is correct. It defers both the filing and the payment, so no interest or penalties will accrue until after May 17th.
Thanks very much, and thanks for having the telephone town halls. They're really helpful.
Thank you so much, Jody. Our next question is Susie. Susie, are you on the line?
I received the first stimulus check and haven't received the other two. And my question is, I'm wondering why and what can I do?
Hi, Susie. Thank you. This is Annabelle with IRS. The second stimulus check was basically approved by Congress on December 27th, and we had a statutory deadline of January 15th to issue millions and millions of EIP2, which was what we called the second stimulus payment. Because we had such a short time frame to distribute so many payments, unfortunately, we weren't able to get to all of them, which is why many people are wondering why they didn't get EIP2. As far as EIP3, we are currently distributing EIP3 payments, so that may explain why you haven't received yours quite yet. Just today, the IRS announced another 25 million payments went out. So what you can do in order to get your EIP2 is file a 2020 tax return and claim it as a recovery rebate credit for EIP2. For EIP3, I would say wait a few more weeks to see if that amount hits the deposit, if that deposit hits your account, or if you receive the paper check by mail. And if you don't, say by the summertime, then I would encourage you to contact the Congresswoman's office, and we can look into what may have happened to EIP3. But for now, I can tell you that it's likely that you didn't receive EIP2 because of that statutory deadline, but you can claim it as a recovery rebate credit. For EIP3, I would say just, hold off for a few more weeks to see if you finally receive it, because, again, we continue to issue those. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As I mentioned before, over the past month, we received numerous calls into our district office. And so one question was, what if I didn't get my payments yet, and do I have to pay taxes on these payments? Can one of our speakers answer that?
Sure. So the economic impact payments are not taxable, meaning even though you have to report them on your 2020 tax return, you're not paying income taxes on those payments. They're not, you don't have to include them as income. If you haven't received them, what we recommend is you file your 2020 tax return and you claim them as a recovery rebate credit. That way, it'll be a credit, meaning it's still a refundable credit, but the EIP1 and EIP2s are no longer being issued, which is why you have to file the tax return to claim them as a credit.
And for California purposes, they are not taxable, so they will not be on the California tax return.
Thank you so much. Another question that we received in our district office: will families with young children really get a monthly check?
As I mentioned, during my remarks, Yes, so the child tax credit is something that is currently being developed. We don't have details. We don't have guidance yet to be explaining exactly how it'll all work out. But based on the legislation language in the American Recovery Plan Act, it looks as though families will be able to receive an advance child tax credit, which will then have to be reconciled when they file taxes next year. But once again, I encourage everybody to visit irs.gov for the latest information. And as I promised earlier, as soon as we have the details of how this child tax credit will play out, I will make sure to send that information to Congresswoman Karen Bass's office.
Thank you so much.
And for California purposes, we do not have a similar credit. We do have the Young Child Tax Credit that's tied to Cal EITC. So if you have a young child under the age of 6 and you qualify for Cal EITC, then you can request a refundable credit of up to $1,000 per qualifying child. But it will be reported on the tax return and paid at that time when the return is processed. We do not have advance payments or a monthly payment plan.
Thank you so much. And for the folks who are joining us, you can call our district office at 323-965-1422. We'll have all of the speakers' contact information, and we'll be sure that you get all your questions answered. Our next question, should I file a return this year, even though I don't make that much?
The tax law generally tells folks that if, for example, if you are a single individual and you earned less than $12,000 in a year, the tax law doesn't require you to file a tax return. However, for the purpose of claiming any benefits that you may be entitled to, claiming the recovery rebate credit or the earned income tax credit, these are benefits that you would only receive by filing a tax return. So if for some reason you didn't receive EIP-1 or EIP-2, definitely I would suggest that you file a 2020 tax return so that you could see those benefits and also claim any other credits that you may be eligible to receive as a result of filing a tax return.
And similarly, but for different reasons, California would ask that you file a return in order to get the Golden State stimulus, and also if you qualify for Cal EITC. However, our filing amount is $14,797. It's a little bit higher, but Cal EITC recipient may receive that credit for an income much less than $14,797. So it's worth looking into.
Thank you so much. We have Thomasina from our district.
Yeah, thank you, Darren. And Thomasina's asked us to read her question, so I'll go ahead and do that here. She says, tax-related, read the Franchise Tax Board. It's a two-part question. Number one, will we have to pay taxes on the $600 and $1,400 stimulus payments? And two, in 2019, after I filed my estate taxes, I was reassessed and shown to owe $34, and now it's $359 higher in penalties, and they told me that they forgot to give me a $122 tax credit. Will I have to pay the $359? So a couple questions there from Thomasina.
Okay, so can we repeat that just one time?
Sure. So the first question is, will we have to pay taxes on the $600 and $1,400 payments? And then in 2019, she filed state taxes, was reassessed and showed that were $34, and now she's been charged penalties, but she was initially told they forgot to give her a $122 tax credit that looks like it would have covered that initial $34 assessment.
Okay, so that, first of all, the economic impact payment or the Golden State stimulus, either of those items will not be taxable for California purposes. Now, in relationship to the specific account question, that is better solved by calling our 800 number, our general assistance line, or you could actually use a feature on our website that's called chat. Just search for chat. It's actually on the homepage, and you can ask a question about your account, and they will want to authenticate. So have your 2019 tax return with you, and they can authenticate you and speak to you about specific questions on your return. But without doing an account analysis, there's not much help I can provide currently.
Thank you. We will take a question from Jacqueline from Culver City. Jacqueline?
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. So I received my first stimulus check directly deposited to my bank. So the second one, I did not. The third one, I just received this morning, and it's pending processing. So my question is will there be an opportunity for them to issue the EIP2 check directly to my bank, or do I have to take advantage of the recovery rebate?
Thank you, Jacqueline. The deadline for IRS to issue Economic Impact Payment 1, so EIP 1, was December 31st, 2020. The deadline for IRS to issue the second Economic Impact Payment, or EIP 2, was January 15th, 2021, which means if you didn't get EIP 1 or EIP 2, the IRS can no longer issue a check per se. Now it has to be claimed as a recovery rebate credit by filing a 2020 tax return. So for your particular situation where you received EIP 1 but did not receive EIP 2, I would suggest that you file a 2020 tax return and claim it as a recovery rebate credit to receive that, since you've already mentioned that you'll be getting your EIP 3, which was likely based on your 2019 tax return, if you haven't filed a 2020 return. So the answer is yes, you'll have to claim it as a recovery rebate credit for EIP 1 and 2.
Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Darren Harris, Chief of Staff to Congresswoman Karen Bass, and I think we're ready for our second poll question. Ian?
Sure thing. Our next poll for you folks is, if you have decided to not take the vaccine when it was made available for you, what is your reason? Press 1 if you don't trust it. Press 2 if you don't know where to go. Press 3 if the lines are too long. And press 4 if you would take it or you're not eligible to take it. So again, if you've decided not to take the vaccine when it was made available to you, what was your reason? Press 1 if you don't trust it. Press 2 if you don't know where to go. Press 3 if you think the lines are too long. And press 4 if you would take it or you're just not eligible to take it next. Appreciate that poll, and we'll toss it back to you here, Darren.
Thank you so much. Our next question will be from Frank. Frank, are you on the line?
Hi, yes, thank you for hosting this. My question is, I filed my 2019 return very late, right around December 30th, and I still haven't, it's been 3 months, and the IRS website and the 2 people I've talked to told me they still haven't received my 2019, so I didn't get the $600, and now my accountant tells me that the system will not accept my 2020 return because it doesn't have my 2019 return. So now I can't get the third payment, the $1,400 one. So since I'm essentially just sitting here waiting now 3 months in on the IRS processing my 2019 return, and that's holding up my 2020 return, and all of the stimuluses are tied to having my taxes in, what can I do? Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. That's a very valid question. I do apologize for any inconvenience that you may be experiencing with your filed returns. I will share that given the closures, 90% of IRS facilities closed last year for a period of several months due to the global pandemic. So you can imagine what type of backlog that created. Now that our employees are returning back to the processing centers, there's a lot that still needs to be processed for 2019, and we're working very diligently to get those returns processed. Now, if you filed a paper return, meaning you actually had to mail it to our Fresno processing center, know that they are, again, working very diligently to processing those. Paper returns have to be manually entered before it shows up into the system. You mail the return, and if it's not, somebody has to physically retrieve it and take that paper return and enter that information and that data onto the computer system for it to show up anytime you call us and we, type in your social security number and find, your account. So if it's not showing up yet, that means that it's probably still somewhere along the pipeline, will hopefully show up soon. Now, for the issue having to do with your 2020 return not taking because the 2019 information isn't available, that usually happens with tax software, and the tax program asks for a particular number. I believe it's the AGI that can only, that you can only get based on your 2019 return. So what we're recommending to tax preparers and taxpayers that can get through this block is that you type 0 for your AGI, because it's just kind of like a verification question so that you can proceed with the filing of the return. And that should allow the 2020 return to process. And then also for EIP3, as a reminder, EIP3 will be issued throughout the rest of the year. So if you're having a bit of a, hiccup with your 2020 tax return, once that finally goes through, the EIP3 will generate and be issued to you. So there's still time for that, although I understand people need these funds now. If you claimed your second EIP in your 2020 tax return that you're not able to process because of this 2019 issue, then you should receive your EIP2 once that finally goes through. Now, again, these are all issues we're facing, and it's a very, very busy time. This is a peak season for the agency when we also have this colossal but important task of distributing economic impact payments while we're trying to process tax returns and the backlog of returns from last year. So we do ask for a bit of patience, and we're working diligently to get these things taken care of and to make sure that everybody receives their economic impact payments and their refunds, as soon as possible.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and read a question from Estella in South LA. The question is, do constituents with ITIN numbers, that's not a Social Security number, that don't file taxes qualify for the California stimulus payment?
As far as the Golden State stimulus, it's a requirement to file a tax return and either be a Cal EITC recipient or an ITIN filer, so that's the ITIN filer, who made less than $75,000, and that's the total California AGI. So there has to be some earned income either through filing with an ITIN, or you have to be a Cal EITC recipient.
Thank you. Our next question is Eden from Ladera Heights.
Hello. Thank you so much for this time, and thank you so much for this forum. My question may have been touched on, but I'm still not clear on the answer. EIP3 is based on your 2019 tax return if you haven't done your 2020 yet. If your 2020 income declined and you now file your 2020, does that change your qualification for EIP3?
Yes, that is correct. So if you, let's say the IRS, how can I describe? Let's say we accessed your account or scanned your account for the purpose of calculating EIP3. And at the time of account access, the only tax return information available to us was that of 2019. and the 2019 tax return information did not make you eligible because maybe you had higher earnings than the income threshold, which is $75,000. But then you file a 2020 tax return, and the 2020 tax return qualifies you for EIP3, then EIP3 will generate and be issued to you because EIP3 will continue to be distributed through the end of the year. So it's just going to take a while for our systems to catch up with the new tax returns so that then we can go in there and determine eligibility based on your 2020 earnings.
Thank you. Ian, let's go with our last and final poll for this evening.
Let's do it. Final poll is, if you haven't had the vaccine yet, do you know how to get it when you're eligible? Press 1 for yes and 2 for no. Again, if you haven't had the vaccine yet, do you know how to get it when you're eligible? Press 1 on your phone for yes and press 2 for no. And back to you, Darren.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's go ahead and wrap up our conversation for this evening. As you all know, when the American Rescue Plan was passed last month, it included payments and tax benefits to our community. And so we received a lot of calls over the past month, and we just thought that it was so important to have this conversation this evening. And so let's just have a few closing thoughts from Annabelle, Mark, and Susanna.
Thank you, Darren. I guess since you said my name first, I'll take the first opportunity here to
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining Congresswoman Bass's call. Like I said, these are very busy times for the agency, but I do recommend that folks check out irs.gov for the latest information. And, you know, we do everything we can at the District Liaison Office to help Congresswoman Bass's constituents with their inquiries having to do with economic impact payments. But if you use our online tools like Get My Payments and Where's My Refund, you will find that you're able to access information much faster than, you know, sometimes if you call the agency during these busy times. All this to say, you know, we're here to help you out. You know, if you owe taxes, again, don't panic. We'll work with you. We know the difficult times people are going through. And your best source for IRS information, again, is irs.gov. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
And this is Mark Narleski, and I will finish with, we do have on our homepage important filing updates. There's usually a pinkish banner at the top. And then if you have questions about COVID-19, that's a banner right below it. But you can always find information about the filing deadline at the top, and other information that we feel is important with respect to California tax filings. I do want to encourage you again is to try CalFile. That's a free tax filing provided by the Franchise Tax Board. And we also have a Where's My Refund feature. So that is the number one reason why people call us. If you go to our website, you can enter in information from your tax return and information about yourself and find out right away where your refund is, and it saves you a telephone call. And then that allows us to answer other calls that aren't related to the refund. So I encourage you to go to our website, ftb.ca.gov, and look for information that interests you about filing, including CalFile and Where's My Refund.
Hi, once again, and thank you for joining us this evening. This is Azucena with the county's Department of Consumer and Business Affairs. Again, I'd like to extend an invitation to contact us at 800-593-8222, not only to be connected with the Financial Navigator, but to understand what other resources are available with the county. At this moment, we also have a small business grant program that's available and mortgage relief. I also encourage you to find us on social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube. Our handle is LA County DCBA to get up-to-date information on programs and services that are available. Thank you.
Thank you again. Very much appreciate you, Ms. Favela, and thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to Darren, of course. Thank you to Representative Bass for putting this all together, and thank you to the constituents of California's 37th Congressional District for joining us. We have run out of our hour-long time period here. If you still have a question, something that we weren't able to address, or you've got something you need help with, remember you can stay on the line at the end of our forum here, and you'll automatically go to our voicemail system. So you can leave your name, your phone number, and whatever the nature of your concern or question or something you need help with is, leave those in a voicemail at the end of the forum. Representative Bass's office will follow back up with you. So all you need to do to get that assistance is stay on the line here, and you'll be able to leave that voicemail message. You can also, if you'd like, reach out to Congresswoman Bass's office directly. You can do that by dialing 323-965-1422. That's her district office number for constituent assistance. Or you can go to bass.house.gov and find a lot of good information there. And in fact, if you'd like to sign up for email updates and get information consistently from Representative Bass, a lot of the information we've discussed tonight should provide to you via email. You can do that by going to bass.house.gov/signup. Again, bass.house.gov/signup if you'd like to go get email updates from Representative Bass. We'll go ahead and send you to voicemail now. Remember, if you do need somebody to give you a call back with any issue or concern you have, make sure you leave your name and your phone number in the voicemail at the end of the call, and in addition to the nature of your concern or whatever you need help with. We'll send folks to voicemail now. Again, thanks to all of our speakers. Thanks to our constituents from California's 37 for joining us. Stay safe, folks. Have a great rest of your night.